Good afternoon. You're watching Business World Live. I'm Jes Delos Santos. Let's take a look at how the local bourse closed today, Wednesday. Indeed, a hump day for the local index. This shares dropped 0.6% to 6,880. It has been a steady decline from midpoint of trading day, as you can see in this chart right here. At least for this one-day chart, you'd see the index extending its retreat for the third day in a row so far. At least a PSEi for this week has already shed 1.3%. This comes a day, of course, before the alert level system is finally piloted in the National Capital Region. Again, we are going to be placed under alert level 4. That's going to be in place until the 30th or the last day of the month. A number of changes here as we put in place a new, smaller targeted lockdown here in the region. Of course, restaurant operations will be allowed. Alfresco dining, that's going to be at 30% capacity, while for indoor dining, that's going to be at 10%. But again, customers should be fully vaccinated, as well as workers of service establishments. They also have to be fully vaccinated. And let's see how that is affecting at least movement of some of our blue chips here for the day, despite the easing in restrictions here. Majority of the main index retreating still today. You have a number of affected stocks here ending the day in the negative territory. We're talking about manufacturers here like URC down 3.5%. Same thing with San Miguel, also shedding 2.4%. Mall operators as well, Ayala Land, SM Prime, Mega World, and even Robinson's Land ending the day in the negative territory. So is the case as well for Jollibee, also here shedding 2.3%. Also, the day's worst performer, Bloomberry, correcting after making gains yesterday, down 5.25%. Globe likewise snapping a 3-day rally. This, as it did say, announced rather, that it will be partnering with international firms to ramp up its 5G roaming offering, particularly in Australia via Vodafone. But energy stocks, as you can see as well, this chart right here, leading gains today. Aboitiz Power and Meralco both ending the day in the green. This is government said that there might be a hike in electricity prices in Luzon due to supply cuts to several power plants over the weekend by the Malampaya Gas Consortium. True enough, you have Aboitiz Power up 5.2% to 30 pesos and 30 centavos a piece, while Meralco also in the green, up 0.6% to 296 pesos and 80 centavos a share. Now also, let's have a look at our property players here, particularly Robinson's Land and its REIT unit, Robinson's Commercial REIT. This after its CEO, RLC CEO Frederick Go saying that they are bullish that Robinson's Land stock will be re-rated after turning some of its offices in a REIT, the largest REIT IPO at that, via again RCR. But he admits though that that might take some time since we are still in a pandemic. Again, just to give you an idea, RL Commercial REIT raised 23.5 billion pesos with portfolio, again, including 15 Robinson's Land office properties. Half of the proceeds will help beef up Robinson's Land rental earning assets, which may increase income in as early as 12 months. Looking at how both stocks here are performing, Robinson's Land is represented by this upper chart right here is down. Again, like what you mentioned earlier, declining 1.7% to 16 pesos and 22 centavos a share. RCR as well, also in the negative here, at least priced at 6 pesos and 44 centavos a piece. Now, lastly, let's have a quick check at our local currency, the peso, strengthening a touch here today. That's after July remittance came in higher by 2.5% to $2.85 billion compared to June figures. That, in fact, is an increase of 8.2%. Year to date, at least, remittance already rising by 5.8% to $17.77 billion. The peso, as you can see right here, now at 49.840 to the greenback. Here are other headlines we're keeping our eyes on. Infrastructure spending in July rose nearly 40%. as the government ramps up construction work despite the rainy season. Preliminary figures from the budget department showed infrastructure and other capital outlays jumping to 72.8 billion pesos in July. This is higher on a year-on-year basis, but lower compared to June figures. Economists expect the government to fast-track infrastructure projects ahead of the election ban on public works. The increased infrastructure activity is seen helping the construction sector, which took a dive last year at the height of COVID lockdowns. PSA records showed the sector declined 44% to 276 billion pesos in 2020, with new buildings and expansion projects put on hold. Now, business groups are taking a stand against the proposal to criminalize commenting over public officials' statement of liabilities and net worth, or SALNs. The business groups say this violates freedom of speech and hinders public rights to official public records. They said access to government SALNs ensure transparency and helps keep bribery issues away. Ombudsman Samuel Martires had been in the forefront of gatekeeping government officials' SALNs by proposing jail time for anyone making comments on them. Business groups noted that access to SALNs can help weed out corrupt officials and ensure a fairer business and investment environment for all. Again, Metro Manila is all set for the shift to Alert Level 4 tomorrow. The Metro Manila Council says all 17 LGUs in the region were able to prepare ahead of time following the guidelines released by the national government. There have been concerns from the health sector over the timing of the new quarantine system, given the record cases seen in the past weeks. A July to August survey by PricewaterhouseCoopers and the Management Association of the Philippines had shown that majority of the respondent CEOs are unhappy with the current vaccine rollout. Business representatives and industry group leaders have since highlighted vaccination as a key factor for reopening. Again, as the capital transitions to a new quarantine system beginning tomorrow, much remains to be seen in how vaccine is being rolled out, at least according to more than half of the country's chief executives. The latest survey of the PricewaterhouseCoopers and the Management Association of the Philippines show 66% of them are less than satisfied with inoculation efforts. To find out why, we have MAP Vice Chair for Ease of Doing Business, Mary Jade Roxas-Divinagracia. Good afternoon, Jade.
Hi, good afternoon, Jess.
Okay, give us an
Please
idea here. 66%. What's a common perception here among CEOs regarding the vaccination efforts?
Right. Let me step back a bit and give you a bit of a background in terms of the survey. So PwC and the MAP has been doing this survey on a yearly basis in the last 7 years, really to assess the sentiments of our business leaders. And the intent is to use the results of the survey as a basis for the continuing conversations that we have, not just during the MAP CEO conference, but also in other venues where the business community can weigh in. So I think the survey that we conducted recently, which was participated on by 178 CEOs, demonstrated that our business leaders are confident about their growth prospects, despite all the challenges that the pandemic has presented. Yes, the business leaders are calling for faster rollout of the vaccine, as they have cited it as the top risk that may derail the country's economic recovery. But I don't want to dwell on that. Our business leaders have done so well in terms of things that are within their control. For one, they have kept their businesses going in the midst of tremendous uncertainty. They have protected their employee safety, which even in our previous survey came out as the top priority of the CEOs. Some of them also have or even planning to purchase booster shots for their employees. So most of them have done what they can in terms of helping their own ecosystem, which of course includes their customers, their employees, their suppliers, and other stakeholders.
But again, of course, Jade, this is a very crucial discussion, especially
Mm.
when we're talking about vaccination efforts, especially considering that Metro Manila will be transitioning to alert level systems by tomorrow. So maybe the question is, um, regarding vaccination, do you think at least at the current pace that we are in, do business leaders think that this is the right time for us to at least transition to more targeted lockdowns? Because this has been one of the main points that our government officials are alluding to, at least as one of the bases in order for us to transition to targeted lockdown, saying that at least 60% of Metro Manila's population has already been vaccinated. Hence, we can already afford to ease restrictions.
Sure, Jess. So let me again go back to the survey. No? The CEOs are definitely looking at the government to find more ways to control the spread of the virus other than just declaring lockdown. So based on the survey, most businesses would suffer at least 10% reduction in revenues and profits for every lockdown that is declared. Some would incur 20, 30, or even 50% losses because their businesses need to fully shut down. And while most businesses have implemented their digitization initiatives, not all of those services can be delivered online. So you have the gyms, the spas, the salons, and then most service-oriented businesses, which are more affected. No, I think anything that will reopen the economy, of course, with careful thought and without increasing the risk of higher infection, will be looked upon favorably by the business community. The granular lockdowns that we are looking at for tomorrow are specific, depending on the risk level of different areas. So establishments in low risk areas will be allowed to reopen. And I think this is a good idea. The
Mhm.
execution, of course, will have to go side by side with adequate and timely testing and, of course, contact tracing. So these high risk areas or any change in the alert level of low risk areas are properly identified and monitored. So I think the granular lockdown will alleviate the situation as long as the execution or the implementation is made simple, it is clear, it is consistently applied and well communicated both to the public and also to the people designated to implement the restrictions.
Okay, so would you say then that at least the alert level system would somehow change things for the better? I mean, given the survey as well, 43% of the respondents say that lockdowns are stalling recovery. So would you say at least that would be beneficial as we move to more targeted lockdowns?
Certainly so. No, as I mentioned earlier, the confidence and the optimism of the CEOs revolve around areas that they can
Mhm,
control or
mhm,
manage. They have limited control on the vaccine rollout. No, and I understand that some private sector groups have called upon the government to allow the private sector to purchase vaccines so that they can vaccinate their employees faster.
mhm.
The MAP recently has expressed strong support on what they call bakuna bubble discussion to allow fully vaccinated individuals, have better mobility. Of course, there are certain questions on whether this is legal, whether or not this is discriminatory. But still, we are seeing that similar policies have been implemented in other countries where restrictions are less for fully vaccinated individuals. For example, in Singapore, those fully vaccinated are allowed to dine in, work out, go to the spa, even attend large gatherings. No? So I hope that both the proposal for Bakuna Bubble
Mhm.
and, of course, coupled with the granular lockdowns that we have discussed, can work soon to allow establishments to open and accept fully vaccinated employees and customers.
Okay, while we're on that topic, Jade, again, basing on from the survey, 62% of the respondents are from large corporations, but you still have a huge chunk of members, at least from the MSME sector. How are they coping at the moment? And how are they receiving this bit of news that we again are going to an alert level system starting tomorrow?
Yeah, so certainly MSMEs are much more affected by these lockdowns because unlike large corporations, MSMEs have shorter cash runway. So their liquidity and capital constraints can, of course, hamper their operations, no? And based on the survey that we conducted, of course, 38% of the respondents are our MSMEs, it is actually encouraging to see that they are no less confident than the respondents from large corporations. In fact, as we drill down into the results, into the more detailed results, small enterprises are way more confident.
Mhm.
Where is that confidence coming from? Maybe in a way, some of the MSMEs have an advantage because of their size. They are more agile. They can make adjustments to their operations quicker. That does not mean, of course, that they do not need support from both the government and the larger corporations. I think the government can support targeted sectors that are badly affected by this pandemic and, of course, the continuing lockdowns. No, the larger corporations can continue to buy and promptly pay their suppliers, some of which are, of course, your MSMEs, and we as consumers should also support our local entrepreneurs by buying from them. So this granular lockdown, hopefully, if it is clearly communicated ahead of time, will not cause any confusion for our MSMEs because we've had experience, of course, the last time where they are anticipating that the economy will be opening up and a lot of them would have bought supplies, perishable supplies at that, and then suddenly MACQ will still be in effect. So I think it's in terms of communicating properly and clearly to our MSMEs.
And definitely, it's, the again. Can you give us an idea now? When do at least a chief executive see the economy recovering?
Based on the survey that we have conducted, most of our CEOs believe that the economy will recover in 2 to 3 years' time. Fewer of them would think that it will recover in a year's time. So it will still be a medium-term play.
All right. Thank you very much again for your time this afternoon. MAP's Vice Chair for Ease of Doing Business, Mayor Jade Roxas-Divinagracia. Thank you,
My
Jade.
pleasure. Thank you, Jess.
And those are the biggest stories this trading day, September 15, 2021. Catch Business World Live again tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for the market open and 3:15 p.m. for the market close. I'm Jes Delos Santos, and we are One News. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines.